we have officially concluded the All-Star festivities, and come Thursday, we'll be heading back into the home stretch of this 2023-24 NBA season, road to the playoffs. The Warriors, today we're going to be talking about their keys to success for finishing out this season, after maybe not limping into the All-Star break, but definitely not riding in a blaze of glory, right? Current record 27-26, game over 500, 8-2 in their last 10 games, 3.5 games back out of the 8th seed in the current play-in tournament. Getting in the 7th or 8th seed in that play-in tournament gives you 2 opportunities to potentially get yourself into the playoffs, as opposed to the 9 or 10 seed. Again, the Warriors currently in the 10th seed. You only get one shot, as Eminem would say. One shot, do not miss your chance to blow. You only get one shot in the 9 and 10 seeds. So the number one goal, get into the 7th or 8th seed. And the next goal would be to just get out of the play-in in general and try to get into the actual 1 through 6 playoff hunt. And in that race, they're 5 games back of the 6th seed. Currently holding that spot are the New Orleans Pelicans. 8th seed holders right now are the Sacramento Kings. So Warriors have some ground to make up. They had we all know, very slow start to the season. They started off red hot and then immediately just fell off the face of the earth. And it's been a slow burn trying to get themselves back into a good spot to play. And I think they're on the right track. There are question marks that we'll get into, and there's still a lot of inconsistencies and what ifs, and this guy needs to do this and continue this, or he needs to get back to this. There's a lot of stuff like that. If the Warriors really want to, go on a big run here and try and end this season on a high note, wherever that may be in the playoffs, if they make the playoffs. So let's start with the team numbers. Last 15 games for the Warriors. Number four in offensive rating right now, okay? Number 4 in offensive rating. This has been pretty major for this team. If we're, as far as where we started, again, not that consistent offensively or defensively. Remember, it was a really weird start as far as the defense looked solid. The Warriors were playing in really close games. They were winning close games, which had been a complete flip from the season prior. And a lot of those games were actually on the road, too. But the offense just wasn't clicking. Steph was going off. The bench unit looked good. But the rest of the offense, the starters, Andrew Wiggins obviously had a really slow start. Clay did not have a good start to the season. Jonathan Kuminga was not where he is now. It was a really rough start to everything. Everybody's trying to find their roles. Trying to integrate Chris Paul. Brandon Podziemski was still trying to find his footing and everything. So it was kind of a weird fit. No one was really meshing too well at the start of things, but the defense looked good. However, the offense didn't. But in these last 15 games, the Warriors are now the 4th best offensive rating in the league in that stretch. Defense, which again started off on a pretty strong note, really fell off the face of the earth. No doubt, Draymond Green's absence for most of the season definitely hurt that, as well as the fact that Andrew Wiggins, not only offensively, but defensively, took quite the hit and just didn't really have anything going for him after being one of the premier perimeter defenders in basketball for a solid season and a half. Without him playing great defense, there really wasn't a point of attack guy. Obviously, Klay Thompson isn't that dude anymore. He's more better suited to guard bigger wings and slower-footed guys as opposed to small guards and, essentially being a point of attack guy. That's not his strong suit anymore. And Jonathan Kuminga, even though, as I continue to say, has flashes, has moments where he looks like this spectacular, game-changing defender for the Warriors, he's very inconsistent because he's young. And one game he may look like an elite Tony Allen-like defender, but the next game, he's going to just not, it's going to be all over the place. Everyone's going to be eaten off of Kuminga. It's not going to work. It's going to look ugly. And that's what it's kind of been, even in this stretch. But because the Warriors as a whole, with Draymond back, with Andrew Wiggins getting back into his own on both ends of the floor, Jonathan Kuminga having more flashes than not flashes, they're playing better. Clay's playing better defense on bigger players, right? Brandon Podziemski's really stepped up. Lester Quinones has been a revelation. Steph's been playing some solid defense. The Warriors have gone from, at one point, I think they were like 29th in the month of January defensively, or in December, like arguably the worst defense in basketball, behind I think only the Pistons. And now in this 15 game stretch, still with all the question marks they have, 12th best in defensive rating at 116.6. So not 116.6. Let me back to the 15 games. 114.6. So still not amazing, but where they were to where they are now, and we've seen the games they've had. We've seen how well they're playing against stars and shutting stars down. They're doing a great job. They still have work to do. They still have more consistency to build here. I think the defensive rebounding needs to continue to be a point of emphasis for the Warriors, because that could tend to kill them. Getting the toolsy guys on rosters, your Russell Westbrooks, your Josh Okogis, even a guy like Talen Horton-Tucker for the Jazz. The Warriors need to do a better job at watching out for players like that, because they tend to change games, at least against the Warriors. Maybe not for all these other teams, but when the Warriors play guys and their stars are shut down and everything's looking good, that one dude's going to check in. And it's just instant energy. Here comes 3 offensive rebounds, leading to three more second chance threes. Here comes a barrel into the lane, blocking foul, free throws. Here comes a steal in the backcourt. It's ugly. It changes games rapidly, and the Warriors never seem prepared for those kinds of toolsy players. So need to be more on the lookout for that. But defensive rating, they've moved it all the way up to 12th. They're playing a lot better. Draymond's been absolutely unbelievable. Andrew Wiggins is playing like an elite perimeter defender again. I couldn't be happier with the improvement there. It needs to continue. I don't want to continue to have to beat over the head the rim protection issue. We all know it. It's getting annoying to talk about, but perimeter defense needs to continue to be a big time point of emphasis, and it needs to be elite for this team to succeed, and I think it's getting back to that point. So great there. Fifth in rebounding percentage in this 15-game stretch. That's been a huge thing. Obviously, this entire season, the offensive rebounding has been one of the main focal points of the Warriors and one of their best assets for staying in games, winning games, going on big runs. Brandon Podziemski's been a big impact guy there. Jonathan Kuminga's getting better at offensive rebounding. Kevon Looney obviously helps with that specifically. Andrew Wiggins is getting better on the glass. Draymond can extend possessions. Like, it's been a team-wide effort of just trying to get as many extra possessions as possible, especially because you've had guys like Klay Thompson who just have not really had any sort of consistent offense. So being able to extend possessions and get multiple opportunities for Steph or now Jonathan Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins, getting guys more looks than just one is really changing things, and it's also putting a lot more pressure on defenses. And the main thing there is the offensive rebounding was almost a fault for the Warriors in the first half of the season because the transition defense was just horrendous. Obviously without Draymond, the back line is just it's non-existent. So the offensive rebounding was spectacular, but okay, you made the shot. Now you're getting beat down the floor off of a made basket. So it was really bad there, but that's starting to change. The transition defense has been a lot better since Draymond's come back, and the rebounding percentage continuing to stay up while the transition defense is getting better is great to see. Fourth in effective field goal percentage. That's been another revelation. Again, really, really slow start to the season offensively. Wiggins not showing up. Klay having a lot of issues offensively, not really getting the shots that he normally hits. And Jonathan Kuminga starting off the season kind of on the same meh note, but then immediately turning on the rainfall to where it's at now. Steph Curry back to getting MVP caliber play. It's been quite the revelation over these last few weeks. Just getting back to being an efficient, high scoring machine. This is how the Warriors play. They're dominating points in the paint. They're getting all the looks they could possibly want, even if they're not hitting them. They're taking better care of the ball. They're getting those extended opportunities off second chance baskets. They're just making shots, man. They're knocking stuff down. I'm sure a lot of the EFG could be attributed to Steph, but in general, I think the teams just looked a lot better, taking better shots, getting better opportunities, moving the ball efficiently, and that's been great to see because again, come playoff time, you got to hang your hat on something. And for the Warriors, it's going to be defense and then good to great shot. That's what it's got to be. Because once you get good to great shot, turnovers are off the table. That's not an issue anymore. You're just getting getting the best opportunities and you're taking them, as opposed to overpassing, doing all this extra stuff that doesn't need to be done. Next, 5th in pace. That had been kind of an issue for the Warriors to start the season. Chris Paul, obviously, going into this season was a good thing. Jordan Poole was very chaotic, did not know how to run a unit by himself. Not much of a legitimate playmaker. Like, he was a good passer. He kind of like Steph. He's a good passer, but he's not the greatest playmaker. Steph's a far better playmaker than Jordan Poole is. But the Warriors needed stability in the second unit because that was the biggest issue for the Warriors. Was the second, once Steph was off the floor, the team they didn't know. It was like chickens with their heads cut off. There was absolutely nothing the Warriors could really do to stay in games. It was just any sort of lead immediately vanished. And so they needed a point of consistency, and I think Chris Paul stepped in and did a fantastic job of that. It's just kind of a shame that the Warriors' offense, when Chris Paul was playing, just wasn't really making any shots. They were getting great opportunities, great looks, staying in games, a ton of clutch, close games all throughout the beginning of the season, but the offense just wasn't really meshing that well. But I think Chris Paul still provided a lot there, and because of that, the pace of the team was slower. When Chris Paul's in, it's methodical. It's pick and roll. You know what CP's doing. A lot of Dario action. They were a great little tandem unit, the two of them. And it was a lot more Chris Paul basketball, right? And then, of course, Draymond not being there, he was playing more minutes with Steph, and that was in turn slowing the actual offense down. So things were just a little bit funky, not quite Warriors-esque, but still effective. And the Warriors had one of the best bench units in basketball because of Chris Paul and the amount of offense was being generated from the bench. But since Chris Paul's been out and since Draymond's come back, the pace of the team, the thing that really kind of took the Warriors to the next level, is back. Getting up and down the floor, getting stops, getting teams out in transition, and getting those open looks. And now because you have guys like Jonathan Kuminga, you've got Andrew Wiggins, who's seemingly had a new lease on life. You got guys who can make stuff happen in the open floor that you didn't really have before. It's really changing things. And so the pace of the team in general has been back up, 5th in that category in these last 15 games. And I think that's going to continue to move up as well. Kuminga's had a kind of a wonky last few games. Obviously, Steph's been on just an insane tear in these last few. So Kuminga, who was getting a ton of looks, his usage rate was really high up, especially early on that road trip, this final road trip. That's sort of gone down a little bit, but he's still getting efficient 15 to 20 point nights. And I hope to continue to see him really take advantage of what's given to him, and especially in transition, because the faster the Warriors play, the better they take care of the ball, the more they get out on the open floor. They're lethal offensively. They're still a lethal offense, and you see that again, as I said, 4th in offensive rating in these last 15 games. And again, that's with Andrew Wiggins still only averaging like 14 points in that span. Speaking of, we're going to get into the players. In these last 15 games, Andrew Wiggins has been averaging 14, 5, and 2 on 50, 45, 78 shooting splits. Now, that's really, really good. Especially, and I know everyone's going to focus on the 45% from 3, but 78% from the free throw line for Andrew Wiggins is insane. Wiggs in a Warriors uniform has been a horrendous free throw shooter. He's got a really weird release. He hitches it, and it's a flat line drive shot. It's not smooth, and it misses a ton. He's been shooting the ball great from the free throw line in this stretch for Andrew Wiggins standards. And again, the elite defense that he's played, Andrew Wiggins has had a fantastic stretch of games here, and I hope it continues. Again, with the emergence of Jonathan Kuminga, the nice thing is you don't even need Wiggs to have this, huge offensive output. If he could just continue getting on the glass, making the right passes, hitting a couple open shots, and just playing great defense, that's great. Does it live up to the contract? No, but as long as you're getting proper production, you kind of have to live with it at the moment. Draymond has been he's continued to be incredible. This is probably the best season we've seen out of Draymond, production-wise, since 2016. 2022, Draymond was one of the best defenders that I've seen in my time watching basketball. He was unbelievable. But this season, the number one thing Warriors fans have talked about with Draymond is just give us like 10 points a game. Just give us 10 points a game. Make a couple open threes. Be a little bit of a threat out there. It dramatically changes the scape of the landscape of this offense when you're an actual threat out there. And I know Draymond, I think he's still yet to hit a three in the second half of a game this season. But Draymond in the first and second quarter has just been incredible offensively. I mean, you saw in that Phoenix game, I think he had like 21, 22 points. He was unbelievable. He's getting a lot more confident, inserting himself into the offense as a scorer, doing a lot of the dribble handoffs that we know, a lot of the fake handoffs, stuff like that. He's getting back into what made Draymond so effective for so long. We remember in those 2022 finals, he was just a liability out there. Like Boston was just straight up saying, forget him. Don't even look at him. Go like face guard Steph. Go face guard Clay. Face guard with they just didn't even look at him. And so Draymond couldn't even be on the floor. That's not the case anymore. Now Draymond's become a legitimate part of the offense. He's giving you like 10 plus a game. I mean, right now it's 9.7, but any given night he could give you 10 plus a game. He's shooting like 40% from three on the season, and he's hitting at least two, I think, and like all of his threes are coming in the first quarter. So it's instant offense for the Warriors, which is a big thing. His legs are under him. It's probably the best time for Draymond to be a threat offensively. But it just changes things for Steph. It changes things for Clay. Now defenses have to worry about it. It gives the Warriors more layers. In this stretch, he's averaging 10 points, 8 boards, 6 assists, shooting 53% from the field, 41% from three, also averaging over a steal and over a block per game, and leading this defense again from where it was in the depths of hell back to near top 10, And again, I think soon they can get back into the top 10 defensively for the final couple months of the season. I think he's been that good. He just changes things, He's so elite as being that rover guy. The only thing that is going to really halter this defense from getting back to glory, essentially, is the help defense. If Draymond's gonna come off and try and help someone's got to help the helper. And that's been the biggest issue, even while they've been winning, is it's like Draymond leaves his spot to go help someone who's gotten beat, because again, the Warriors struggle with point of attack defense. Obviously, Gary being back, Wiggins getting back to where he is, and occasional games where Jonathan Kuminga looks great. They just don't have much point of attack defense. They really don't. They don't have many guys who could keep up. So Draymond's got to do a lot of helping. When Draymond helps, because there's no 7-footer standing in the paint that can assist him in blocking shots, guys have to be really smart about helping him out. If he's going to leave, you have to pick up the slack. You got to get there. Kevon Looney, Dario, Jonathan Kuminga. You have to get over and make up for where Draymond no longer is. That's why the Warriors try to switch everything. If Draymond's going to go help, you guys got to rotate. Bottom line. And they just haven't done that. And if they continue to not do that, or not do it at an efficient rate, or not do it consistently enough, it's going to cause problems, especially against teams that just are bigger. In a 7-game series, it's going to be really tough. It's going to be really tough. And I hope Trayce plays more. I already made my video a couple days ago about Trayce needing to play over Kevon Looney. I stand by that. I think Kevon's just a net negative on the floor, regardless of whatever rebounding he gives you. He just doesn't score the ball much. He's not much of a threat as a shooter. I know like every 15 games he might hit a mid-range shot, but other than that, He's not doing anything. He's just a net negative. His defense has fallen off of a cliff. You might as well play Trayce. He at least tries to be an active help defender. He can block shots. He is a lob threat. He can rebound the ball. You got to do something. You got to do something to help Draymond out. It's just not fair to throw him out there and not have anybody competent enough to play good help defense for him. So that needs to happen. But I've been absolutely enthralled with Draymond's performance over these last 15 games. Moving on, Jonathan Kuminga. Talked a ton about Kuminga in these last couple weeks, more than I ever have, because I think Kuminga's been one of the best players in the Warriors, if not the second best. Helped the team a ton in a time where they were really kind of just like, throwing shit at the wall and hoping something sticks. And Kuminga was that guy. A month ago, everyone was like, everyone not named Steph Curry is on the table. And that was legitimately how the team was. Jonathan had not taken that step yet. Draymond was still out. Clay was still playing horrifically. Not really showing any signs of anything. Moses was not doing much. Gary's hurt. Chris Paul's now hurt. Dario, it's like, okay, well, he can't defend. Kevon Looney's still doing nothing. Like, it was a big issue. And the Warriors just looked like they were about to completely collapse and miss the play-in potentially. Like, it was bad. Remember, the Warriors do not have a draft pick in the first round next season or in this upcoming draft. So it was just going to be a blown season for nothing. And for Jonathan Kuminga to come out here and in these last 15 games average 21, 6, and 3 on 57% shooting from the field, 37% from 3, and nearly 80% from the free throw line, that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. He really has taken the step into potential stardom. I think he's looked incredible. He's one of the toughest guys to stop in the open floor. He's got one of the most lethal just verticals. It's really awkward. I don't know how to explain Jonathan Kuminga's vertical. It's really weird. When you know what I mean when you watch him. He just jumps really awkwardly. It's so funky. It's like the reverse Pascal Siakam. Like Siakam's like natural in-game movement is weird, but like he still does things quite normally. Kuminga moves normally, but his jumping is just so weird. I don't know. He's got an incredible second jump as well. He's just been unbelievable everywhere. Really aggressive in the post, which was one of my biggest problems with him early on in the season and last season. He just wasn't aggressive in the post. Guards were able to post up again or stop the post against him pretty consistently. He would just try and bait for fouls. It was really ugly. It didn't look good. He didn't look confident out there. Whatever switched for him over these last 15 games, he's been a force. You feel him out there. You see it. The ball gets into his hands. It's an intention of the Warriors. Draymond set up Kuminga in the post. He gets him. Steph Curry. I don't want the ball. You take it, JK. You get up the floor. You got it. Andrew Wiggins. Nah, you got it, JK. It's been that kind of way, and I think he's earned a ton of confidence and trust from the other guys. He's made a couple of really mistakes in these last couple games. Solo mistakes, like, solid games, but oof, that was a big time mistake. You made it a big time situation. Again, not some like he's a terrible player. It's just he's young. This is what happens. It's inconsistent. But again, the Warriors are in championship mode. Guys who make big time mistakes because they're young, that means more than a guy making big time mistakes for the Pistons, right? It's just different. So Kuminga, really, really happy with how he's played. The defense is still just so inconsistent with him. I hope it just gets better. I would love to see consistency in any capacity. I like the fact that he's not fouling as much. I think that's been a huge place of growth this season. But one thing I'd like to see, in particular, if we're just going to pinpoint one thing as opposed to being somewhat vague of defense, be more consistent, screens. Getting over screens and not forfeiting your man. Steph Curry, the little shit's aggressive, all right? Steph likes to get up and try and he makes the switch a lot. And we've heard Clay talk about that game in the finals. Obviously, Kyrie hit one of the greatest shots ever in finals history because Klay Thompson was like, okay, Steph, you want him. Sometimes, man, you got to tell Steph, get the fuck back. I got it. You go. No, I'm taking him. Jonathan needs that. He needs to be able to do that. You can't let your number one guy, come out here because you couldn't get over the screen properly, and now Steph's in a mismatch situation, and it's just bad for everybody. Like JK needs to be a lot better about managing screens and really helping that out and making sure coverages aren't blown because, one screen threw the whole thing off. So that's a point of emphasis I'd like to see for JK. Speaking of Steph, he's been the MVP we know he can be. In this stretch, averaging 31 points, 5 boards, 6 assists on 47% from 3, and 91% shooting splits. Yes, a near 50-50-90 15-game stretch for him. Averaging 6+ made threes per game. So, even more insanity. Steph's been the player we all know he is. Everybody was like, if Steph's not Steph's, this team, well, of course not. They need him to be great. But if nobody else is helping out, then you can't expect Steph to do everything. Like I've said before, he's not LeBron James. He's not someone who's going to be able to just put the team on his back. If the team's terrible, if the team's not getting stops defensively, if the team's not able to, make a shot outside of him, what do you want him to do? He can't just bully his way down. He can't, guard the best guy on the floor every night. He's not big enough, and he's not getting calls like the other guys do. So it's one of those things where if the team's not playing that well, it's highly likely you're not going to see a great Steph Curry game. But since the team's really gotten back to where it can be, Steph has looked elite. And again, I hope reaffirms that belief in the front office and Joe Lacob that, hey, he is worth building around. You have a lot of pieces right now. You make a couple moves. You let a couple guys walk. You could really shoot this team right back into contention. I think they've got a chance now. You never say never. Will they win the finals? Doubt it. But I think they could go on a little bit of a run if they continue the pace that they've been on. I think they can do it. But Steph has been playing like that guy that would lead the Warriors into a potential insane finals run. So that's huge for this team. And last but not least, Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson has been a big-time point of contention for Warriors fans. Just came off the bench for the first time since his rookie year, I think, or his second year in that game against Utah. And he dropped 35 points. All the Warriors fans freaking out. Yay, look at Klay. Look how good he is. Klay's back. Klay this, Klay that. Everybody needs to apologize to Klay. No. Klay Thompson might have scored 35 points. But when you watch the game, Klay was doing everything that Klay's been doing when he's been bad. Nothing changed. He wasn't making all these great plays. He wasn't just taking what the defense gave him. It wasn't the type of play we're hoping to see from Klay Thompson. All it was is the bad shots that Klay Thompson has always taken went into that game. Bottom line. Still didn't play terrific defense. He had a couple good moments defensively early on in the game. But he's still not doing too much. And I'm very worried about that because he needs to be just smarter on the floor. It really comes down to that. He just needs to be smarter. And he has not been. Averaging 17 points, 3 boards, 2 assists in this entire span. 40% from the field, 33% from 3 on 9 attempts. It's just been rough. It's been rough, and regardless of a big-time scoring night for him, that's not what I'm looking for. Personally, not what I'm looking for. Cool, glad. Without that 35-point game, Steph kind of had a bit of a clunker. It was kind of going to be probably going to be a loss for the Warriors, and it would have been a limp into the All-Star break. That would have been 2 bad losses in a row. But Klay had a great night, and because of that, the Warriors went in on a somewhat high note. Not as high as I'd like, but somewhat high. But it just wasn't what I'm looking for. I want him to be making the right plays. I want him to be rebounding, to be trying to play better defense, to be more engaged defensively. I want him to be trying to set up Trace, to be setting up other guys, using his gravity, playing like Steph. Play for the team, man, not for yourself. That's what we want. Play for the team. I'm just scoring output from Klay Thompson does not matter to me anymore. All I care about is quality of looks, getting other guys opportunities, getting on the glass, and trying to be a big-time helper defensively. So that goes into the final point of this video, which is keys moving forward. Keys moving forward for the Warriors to have the best possible second half, home stretch, whatever you want to call it, of this season. Number one, it's going to be defense. Defense has to be the priority for this team. If they are not elite in point of attack, if they are not elite in their switching, their closeouts, this is not going anywhere. They're going to either fall back out of the play-in or they're going to sit at that 10 seed. You know, the Lakers are also 7-3 in their last 10, and they're a half game over the Warriors, I think, or a game and a half. Like, they're playing great ball right now, too. So, if the Warriors don't get their stuff straight and they don't continue to play elite defense, if they take a slip, if they take a dive, if they stop doing what's been working lately, it's going to be really problematic for this team. And I'm a little bit worried about Chris Paul's return, what that's going to mean for Lester Quinones, who just got his contract converted, so congratulations to him. So he's officially a part of this roster, no longer a two-way guy. And then having Brandon Pajemski, who's been arguably a top 10, in a redraft for this draft, for this past draft. Brandon Pajemski is likely going top 10, potentially top 5. He's been that good. Both ends of the floor, drawing charges, effort plays, switching a lot, doing what I said Jonathan needs to do, which is, hey, Steph, don't. I got it. Is Brandon Pajemski the Drew Holiday? No, he is not. He's not that good defensively. But Brandon's a big-time effort guy, and he makes things harder for players. He contests really well, and he sticks to guys pretty solid. Even if he gets beat off of shots, he's still right there. He doesn't give up on plays. I've been really impressed there. But if these guys do not continue to click defensively and continue to move things forward and continue this, that's gonna be a big issue. So defense as a whole, number one key moving forward. Next up, pace. Pace has to continue. It has to continue to be a point of emphasis to move up and down the floor, to play fast, to push the tempo. Chris Paul is going to be returning soon. That worries me. I already said it about defense, but it worries me with pace as well. We talked about it earlier. Chris Paul slows the game down. And I know that he provides stability. He typically limits turnovers. I don't really care about that right now. I want the Warriors to continue to move the ball down the floor and play fast. Get guys open floor opportunities. I'm sure Chris Paul can play fast, but that's still taking away minutes from Lester Quinones, who's been a really good on-ball defender, and he can shoot the three pretty well, and he can kind of play make a little bit, and he's getting on the offensive glass a ton, so he's been doing a lot of the little stuff. Brandon has obviously been great. I don't want to see Chris Paul come in taking minutes away from those dudes. They should be playing right now. They're the energy guys. So where Chris Paul fits in, I don't know. I know Steve's going to put him in. I know he will. So we're going to have to see how this whole thing functions, but it does worry me that Chris Paul is going to kind of mess with the mojo the Warriors have earned back here. So pace needs to be a big point of emphasis. Keep a lookout for that. If Chris Paul's back, it might be panic mode because I don't need to see the game go from absolute speed racer to snail race. So, yeah. And last but not least, last but not least, shot quality. Shot quality has to be the number one thing offensively. I think they've done a better job at limiting the turnovers, keeping things under control for the most part lately. I think their biggest thing right now is getting the best shots possible. Continue to move the ball well, getting up and down the floor and making guys work for stuff. Good shot to great shot, and trying to take the best shot possible because you want to help yourself on defense as much as you can possibly do it. And if everybody's crashing the offensive glass, especially at the rate the Warriors do, it's putting more and more pressure on your defense to be perfect. And even though they have improved in the transition defense, I don't want to see them constantly having to play that style of basketball or that style of defense because that's a recipe for disaster. Again, 7-game series. Teams are only worried about you. They're gonna mess with they're gonna pick apart your weaknesses, and that's a moment where the Warriors are giving up another 140-point game. It really is. So, pace, defense, shot quality, getting the best opportunities possible. Those are my 3 keys moving forward for the Warriors here. I do think there's an opportunity for the Warriors to make a lot of noise in the playoffs. I do think they have the capability. I think they do have the roster. It's just about, can they do it on a consistent basis? Because if not, that's going to be what holds them back from being a successful basketball team. That's really it. They're missing a rim protector. I've talked about it ad nauseum. They need one. Jonathan has taken the brunt of being that number 2 scoring guy. Fantastic. Still need that rim protector. They don't have it. Trace can help supplement that a little bit. Not too much, but a little bit. So we're going to have to see how that all looks moving forward. But those are my keys. They have a run left in them. Maybe a couple more as well if they can make some moves in the offseason and really add to this thing. But I like where we're headed. I like the direction. I think things are going in a good place. I really hope this All-Star break was a good kind of relax, chill, reset, get the mind right moment for this team. And yeah, let's have a good final stretch of this season, man. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the post game of the game against the Lakers on Thursday night. So we'll be back for that. Again, podcast with Dominic will be coming this weekend. So hope you enjoy those. And if you did like this video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down below. Love discussing things with you. Love having the conversation. Yeah. Have a good rest of your week. Peace.